Welcome to the inaugural episode of Talkin Bout RMAC, presented by SJA Network. My name is Spencer Pattison. Jack Jones is over there in the bottom right corner. My guy, we're both super big RMAC fans. We've been covering the RMAC all season long. And a little bit about us, we started out doing some spotting for Colorado School of Mines football. We did Jack did Regis soccer. I did Regis basketball with him as well. So we did Regis basketball, Colorado Christian basketball, and now baseball. But we also did a ton of stuff with Colorado Christian. We've had such a blast covering RMAC sports, big RMAC fans. So we're excited about this. I even was able to call the RMAC Women's Basketball Championships hosted at the Regis Fieldhouse while Jack Jones was able to film it. So we have our experience in RMAC, but we just love it so much. We got to talk about it. It's a blast. Jack, how are you today, man?
Oh man, I am fantastic. And Spencer, I don't think people understand how good of a conference this is. You know, it's a D2 conference, kind of around the Rocky Mountain area. Not all Colorado, a little outside here and there, but it's such an athletic conference. There's a lot of high-end athletes that come out of there. Not a lot of them go pro, but it's very interesting to watch, and people just need to know more about it.
Oh, seriously, it's like if you love Division I sports, which Jack and I do, it's like the Power Five school or Power Five conference for sure.
Definitely.
Big conference in Division II produces some high quality players and so much fun. I mean, let's start off with some softball right now. Colorado Christian, we can't get too ahead of ourselves, but just a week ago, they were on a 34-game win streak.
It didn't seem like they were going to get beaten at all. I mean, this team was rolling over teams. There are a couple of close games here and there, but man, they dominated at the plate, on the mound. I mean, they're just an all-around amazing team.
Yeah, and they recently played against Regis at Regis over in Denver, Colorado. Not too far of a trip. In the first game, that win streak snapped. Yes, that was a Capri Sun straw. Love Mike's Capri Suns. They lost 7-8, a very, very close game. I mean, I was shocked. Jack, I don't know about you. We cover CCU softball, so we know about this team. They are phenomenal. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, along with you, I was also shocked because, Regis is a solid softball squad. They're not doing too horrible this year. They're one of the better teams in the RMAC for sure. Right now, ranked fourth. They're 18-10 in the conference. So they're really not doing too bad, but it was nothing to be scared of. They'd beaten these teams like Mesa, like MSU Denver. They were beating the lower end teams as well. They're kind of beating up on them, but man, they had a great team overall, all around, and I didn't think anybody was going to be able to beat them. And now you look at the conference, and they have that one loss in the conference.
Yeah, a 4-time pitcher of the week, Callie Crandall. What a player she's been this season. But Regis really stomped on her in that first game. She pitched 5.1 innings, giving up 5 hits and 7 runs, 5 of them being earned runs. She did have 9 strikeouts, but we haven't seen a team dominate Callie Crandall like this all season long.
Well, not at all. She's been pitching out of her mind. Let me pull up this pitching stat for her because she was leading the RMAC in all of it. 1.5 ERA. She's given up 1.5 runs a game, which is second in the RMAC behind her good friend Avery Castillo, also a Colorado Christian, both a sub-2 ERA. She has 138 strikeouts, far past that 100 strikeout mark. She hit that pretty early in the season, and she is 18 strikeouts ahead of the next best at Regis. So it just seemed like nobody could figure out, and Regis had the answer just last week.
Right, and in that first game, it was close. It was a tough battle, 8-7. However, the next 3 games was all Cougars, 7-3, 9-0, 4-1. Really just dominated the rest of that. And I think this was a good loss for them. I think that they needed a loss to kind of wake up a little bit. Not saying that they were losing it. However, when they played New Mexico Highlands, there was a few close games in there, close calls. They were trailing in some of them where it was like you just didn't know it was going to happen. I think a nice wake up call, a loss mid-season is good for you.
Well, and you know it's fun to look at too. Cali obviously getting dominated in that game they lost to break the winning streak, but when they won 9-0, Cali was back in there again. She pitched 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, no runs, 8 strikeouts. She came back and said, that was my off day. You guys still don't know how to hit against me." So, that's exactly to your point. They needed to humble themselves a little bit, say, "Hey, we're not the best team in the nation. Maybe some days we're not the best team in the RMAC," and now they can wake up and be like, "Oh yes, we are." I don't know what happened there. Wake up call to Cali. She's 18-2 on the season, so that was one of her 2 losses. But man, she dominated in this next one.
And they're the team to beat. They're the team to look out for. Colorado Christian, they have some of the best players in the RMAC. Callie Crandall, we've talked about her a lot. One of the best pitchers. I believe she transferred from Oklahoma Christian. Either Oklahoma Christian or Central Oklahoma. I cannot remember. I believe it's Oklahoma Christian, where she dominated there. She's a graduate student, I believe, at Colorado Christian, now playing phenomenally. And she's number 2 in ERA in the pitching, like you mentioned earlier. Above her, Avery Castillo, a phenomenal pitcher. Both those ladies are dominating the RMAC right now.
And Avery gets swept under the rug because of Callie Crandall. Callie, there's been 9 weeks of Player of the Week. She's won 4 of them. Avery's won 1. And I guarantee every single one of those weeks that Callie won it, Avery could have won it as well. So it's tough to be Avery Castillo in this situation because you're like, man, I'm almost having a better year than her. Similar years for sure. Some statistics, Callie leads in some statistics. Avery leads in, but I don't think Avery Castillo's lost a game this year. She still goes undefeated. So she gets swept under the rug for sure, but we got to give her a big shout out because she's been mighty impressive this season.
Yeah, she's 13-1. Callie and Crandall 20-2. They're phenomenal pitchers, but you cannot forget about Alexis Hamilton. 12th in ERA right now this season for Colorado Christian. She's a phenomenal pitcher. From what I know, she's struggling right now, kind of just with injuries and availability-wise. So a lot of the pressure is on Castillo and Crandall. I'm not sure, but that could weigh some. It may make Castillo and Crandall tired because they are pitching most of those games. But Alexis Hamilton, if she gets healthy, she could honestly be right up there with those 2 other pitchers.
And a season ago, she was the best pitcher in the RMAC. Comes off an injury this year, isn't the same right away. But as they keep going through games, get her in more time, you'll see her up at the top with those ladies. And that is more than a 1-2 punch. You get the 1, 2, 3, you're knocked out. You could talk about every single pitcher in this organization because Colorado Christian as a team has a 1.73 ERA. Their pitchers are 37-3 on the year. The next closest ERA to that is 3.54. That is almost 2 whole runs per game above any other team. So the pitching from Colorado Christian has just been ridiculous.
Yeah, Alexis Hamilton, we talked to her earlier this season, Jack. At the beginning of the season, before the season started, before their trip to California, she said, it's really nice to be able to have girls like Avery Castillo and Callie Crandall because I don't have all the pressure on me, or not as much pressure on me. Because last year she was one of the only pitchers for Colorado Christian in their RMAC championship run, and now she's not, I wouldn't say third in line, but she's one of the 3 great pitchers on this team. So
and as of last season, you expect her to get a win every start she has, and those are automatic wins. Now you have almost 3 automatic wins in 3 different pitchers. So of course, all that stress is taken off. She's definitely can take her time to get back into it, make sure she's fully healed. That's, I'm guessing, why we haven't seen her as kind of that third starting pitcher. We see Avery and Callie go back to back almost every game because, she's not there yet. If she was there yet, it would be the 3 of them switching off. So obviously still, getting back from that injury, getting a couple relief pitching in here, a couple starts here and there. But I can't wait till she's back fully healthy because I really don't think this team would lose another game all season.
Yeah, at the CCU just posted a few days ago, 2 days ago, about the TUCCI/NCFA D2 Player and Pitcher of the Year watch list. That is a mouthful.
Yeah,
But on that list, I don't know where this watch list was posted. I just saw CCU's Instagram post about it. Callie Crandall and Kenzie Middleton, two of those players. So exciting. I mean, the Middleton twins have been awesome. Their fielding has been awesome. Their hitting has been awesome. And Kenzie has had herself a year so far.
Well, and, we're talking about all this Colorado Christian pitching because they are 2 steps ahead of every other team. They are also one of the better hitting teams in the RMAC. 3rd in average, hitting .328 as a team. They are 2nd in home runs. They've hit 45. I mean, Colorado Mesa, give a shout out to them. They've been hitting the crud out of the ball. .366 as a team. 70 homers, which is 25-35 ahead of Colorado Christian. So you do got to give them their flowers. But Colorado Christian on this side of things too, a great hitting team. And, a huge statistic here, they lead the RMAC in RBIs. So even though maybe they aren't getting the most hits and then the most home runs, when batters are on, they're driving those ladies in.
Yeah, and let's take a look at the standings for softball as we're, I'd say about halfway into the season, maybe a little bit past halfway. Obviously, Colorado Christian, number 1, 27-1 in RMAC play. MSU Denver at number 2 with 21-4 in RMAC play, 25-11 overall. Colorado Mesa 20-6 in RMAC play, 22-12 in overall. And then to round out the top 4 is Regis, who just beat Colorado Christian 18-10 overall in RMAC, 21-17 overall. So those are the 4 teams, and the only 4 teams in the RMAC who are with a 500 winning percentage or higher. And there's a few. You can't count any of the other teams out. It's day by day, game by game. So we'll see. I mean, Colorado School of Mines has themselves a really great softball team.
Well, and MSU Denver, year after year, will always have a great softball and baseball program. That's they're one of the more high-end D2 teams in the country when it comes to baseball and softball. So you'll always see them up there towards the top.
Yeah, and for the last week's Player of the Weeks, Brandy Holler from Colorado Mesa was the Player of the Week, and the Pitcher of the Week was Sadriana Rodriguez of Colorado School of Mines. Sorry if I mispronounced those names, but so I mean, Colorado School of Mines, can't count them out. They got some great pitching, some great players over there. Colorado Mesa, another great team, but the team to beat, obviously, Colorado Christian University. They are number 12 in the nation. They're so good, and the rest of their schedule, they play Black Hills State this weekend, Thursday and Friday. Black Hills State last in the RMAC standings at the moment, 4-24. They did not play any games before the RMAC season, so their RMAC record is the same as their overall record. So CCU plays them first. Can't imagine it'll be too eventful, but you never know. Next up, big
matchup against MSU.
MSU Denver at MSU the next weekend, which is going to be a huge matchup. That's the number 1 and the number 2 team in the conference playing against each other right after that. The next weekend, they travel again over to Grand Junction to play Colorado Mesa, number 3 in the RMAC. It's going to be a tough stretch right there. That's a tough 8 games for Colorado Christian. I honestly, as great as a team they are, I would be shocked if they won all eight games. I'd say my prediction, I'm going to go 6-2. What do you think? I think they lose one to Mesa, one to MSU.
I think they're going to end up going 7-1. I don't think that Mesa, they're a good team, but I just don't think they're going to be good enough to top one. I think that one of these games Metro. I think Metro is not good enough to top them. I think one of these games Mesa will take because their bats will come alive, and one of these pitchers will have an off day.
Yeah, and then to round out their season, the final 4 games are back in Lakewood, Colorado, taking on Fort Lewis. Fort Lewis is number 6 in the RMAC, so middle of the pack. Great team. But yeah, I mean, what are your predictions for the rest of this RMAC season?
Well, I mean, I think CCU wins it all, and they'll go to the regional tournament and be someone to reckon with. Actually, have a chance of maybe getting a D2 national championship this year.
I agree with you there. I think my prediction is Colorado Christian is going to win it all in the RMAC. I think MSU Denver and Colorado Mesa will push for it, and they'll have a great run.
One of those two teams will be in the final with them, and it'll
Yeah.
be a great 3-game series.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that for sure. And then I think they could make a run in the national tournament. I think that's big, or regional or whatever. I think that's exciting. But moving on, we talked about softball for far too long. Just kidding. It's a lot of fun. We'll talk about some baseball. Right now, it's jam-packed. I mean, there's so much to be said about baseball. So I guess let's start off with national rankings. The only team in the RMAC nationally ranked, Colorado Mesa at number 16. I believe this is last week's rankings. I don't think they've come out with the updated ones, but I wouldn't be surprised if their ranking doesn't move very much. They lost one game, which we'll get into that. But yeah, pretty exciting. The standings kind of interesting though. Only two teams that have an above 500 winning percentage. Kind of surprising there. Colorado Mesa, obviously 23-8, and MSU Denver 26-8. So those two teams kind of the teams to beat, the best teams in the RMAC. And right below them is Colorado School of Mines, which is a great team. Jack, we've seen them play, or I don't know if you were there against Colorado Christian, but I have seen them play. And they have a 13-15 overall record, which is kind of shocking because they look like a great baseball team. So let's start out. What are your thoughts about Colorado Mesa?
Well, Colorado Mesa, year after year after year, has been the best college in Colorado to produce baseball players. We're looking at a stat while calling the game against Colorado Christian. Mesa's produced the most MLB players in Colorado from their college at 18. You know, a guy you guys might know, Sergio Romo. He went to Colorado Mesa. That stat was
Before 2003,
but still another notable player that did go to Colorado Mesa and had an amazing major league career. Actually, recently retired this season, so props to him. He was a Colorado Mesa guy, and that team is super impressive. They can hit the ball like no other team in the country. Their bats are swinging. I think sometimes where they find themselves in a little bit of troubles when it comes to pitching. I think they do have a good pitching squad, definitely, but sometimes definitely have a tough day. But everyone seems to have a tough day in the RMAC because they do lead the RMAC in ERA, but it's a 5.24. So you can see the bats are definitely swinging here in the RMAC.
Yeah, and not just this past weekend, but the weekend before that, the Mavericks head coach, Chris Hanks, been at Mesa 25 years. We were at this game, Jack. We were calling this game. What an awesome game to call.
Oh yeah.
Against CCU. Chris Hanks got his 1000th win as a Colorado Mesa head coach, which is so awesome. Congratulations to Chris Hanks. Definitely worth mentioning. But back to the bats. There are 15 players hitting above 500 in the RMAC right now,
and we're deep into the season at this point. It's not like, oh, it's the first couple games. Like, these teams have played 30 plus games at this point, just around 30 games. So that is a ridiculous stat.
Reggie Williams of CSU Pueblo leads that with a 465, and just right behind him is Hayden Iverson of UCCS with a 463 batting average. Those two guys are hitting like crazy. But I want to talk a little bit more about Mesa's bats in particular. There are only 5 guys that are eligible of the minimum requirement of the 2 plate appearances a game and 75% of games played. So that goes on the RMAC statistics ranking. So those 15 players that are hitting above 500, that doesn't count the players who do not meet that requirement. And Mesa, they have so much depth and they go through their lineup like crazy. There's only 5 guys that even meet that requirement. And outside of that, there's guys who have had, 42 at-bats, 67 at-bats, who are hitting the ball really well. Caleb Thomason, 67 at-bats, 343 batting average, and then 42 at-bats for Christos Stefanos, who he can hit it, and he can hit it hard. He's got a 405 batting average. So those guys just kind of barely out of the contention. However, they're two amazing players who can hit the ball really well and get a lot of at-bats, but it's just so awesome to see Mesa and how much depth they have.
Well, and we'll go to the other side of things, and we'll look at Metro as well. Metro hits the balls extremely well, so they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players right there that are eligible. Out of those 8 players, 5 of them are hitting above 400.
Wow.
So they have Tanner Gardner, who's hitting 455, Cam Urin, who's hitting 439, Jake Williams, 425, Cody Schultz, 422, Zach Scholler, 405, Ross Smith, 395. He's right on the edge of that. And then these other 2 guys, it's not like they're not notable. Colin Stone, 325. Caleb, I think it's Alba, 311. These guys, all their eligible guys hitting above 300, majority of them hitting above 400 or close to it. They just hit the ball super well. So that's definitely a factor towards why they're one of the best teams in the RMAC. I think we were talking about earlier, they're the number 27 team in the country. So they're right outside that top 25, but they are definitely should be talked about, as they'll definitely be making a run later in the year. But we basically know who's going to be in this final. It's set in stone.
Right. MSU Denver batting 370 as a team. Colorado Mesa batting 352. Those two teams, absolutely ridiculous. And they just played each other this past weekend. And
Yes,
it was a fun weekend of baseball. The first game, 17-7, Mesa won in Grand Junction. Second game, 11-9. That was the second game of the first game. And it finished in 8 innings. I am not sure why.
Me neither.
And then the second game of that doubleheader was a loss for Mesa, 2-6. And the fourth game was 12-6. Mesa won. So they went 3-1, winning the series, proving that they're that team right now to beat. What are your thoughts on MSU versus Mesa?
Well, Mesa definitely gave themselves a pull for, hey, no, we are that nationally ranked team. We are still the best. We're still the best in the RMAC. MSU's not good enough to top us. And they came out and proved that no matter the score, it seems like for all these baseball games, you just have to score more runs than the other team. I know that's very basic, but a lot of runs are scored. 17-7. If you score 7 runs, you should win a game. 11-9. If you score 9 runs, you should win a game. 6-2. Great pitching performance there. That's something a little bit different, but that's what they needed to beat Mesa. That was the game that Metro did beat Mesa. And then 12-6. If you score 6 runs, you should probably win the baseball game. So it's just very impressive that Mesa came out on top, and they literally used their bats to win this game and this series overall. 3-1 in the series. That has proven something big.
Yeah, I mean, they have been so great this season, and they're number 16 in the nation. But I want to talk about the South Central region. That's where I believe it's the Lone Star Conference and the RMAC. Those two teams. Yep, two of the best teams. Two Power 5. 2 Power 5 when it comes to D1 terms. And I just want to talk about the South Central Regional rankings right now. Colorado Mesa's at 3. I think this was last week, so not completely updated, but Colorado Mesa's at 3, which is pretty cool because they're such a good team above them. Angelo State, St. Edwards, who are 2 phenomenal teams. But at 5, MSU Denver. At 9, Regis. And at 10, CSU Pueblo. My first initial thoughts is, where's Colorado School of Mines? They're phenomenal. And maybe they jump up in the new week because they are on a 5-game win streak. They have been a great team. Yeah, their overall record is 13-5, but the teams that they've played have not been easy, and they have been putting up some really awesome statistics. I mean, this
Well,
past week, the players of the week, Jackson Woolwine, Blake Rip, both ore diggers, and I think that they deserve to be on that South Central regional ranking.
Well, and Blake Rip, you'll hear about him for years to come. I mean, he's got a 1.6 ERA
Wow.
in 10 appearances.
That's
So it's
absurd.
definitely worthy of, I think that he needs like, a couple more because they're only guys that are eligible. I think you need 12, not 11. So in his next appearance, he'll get on those rankings in the RMAC, and he'll be one of the top, maybe the top in the RMAC. So you definitely got to watch out for him. He's been pitching out of his mind. They have Kevin Zapata. He's pitching at a 3.5 ERA, 2 and
Yep.
2 in his
Best in the
wins.
RMAC.
Best in the RMAC. So you'll see Blake Rip even go above him. You have Marcus Lee pitching at a 3.54, and those are really good in an RMAC conference where the best ERA is 5.3 as a team. So when you're looking at that sub 5, even Rodney Gregg, who's pitching at a 4 ERA, that's one of the more impressive guys in the RMAC. But you can also look over to the hitting side of things. They have a lot of guys eligible for these stats. It looks like they have 10 guys eligible, but we got to talk about Garrett Nielsen. He's hitting 420 on the year, has 8 homers, 42 RBIs, leads his team in home runs and doubles. He's got 13 doubles. Then there's his brother, Trent Nielsen, who's right behind him in average, 397, right around that 400 mark. Danny McDermott, 391. Jackson Woolwine, who also won Player of the Week this week, he's hitting 380. So they definitely have guys notable of talking about. Adam Hootailing, 361. Mason Andrews, 345. And all these guys are eligible. So they do have a solid squad, and they've won some big games this year. We called the games where they played against Colorado Christian. They swept that series like it was no problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a good team. They definitely need to win a lot of their games coming out of the season. Looks like they're gonna end their season. They play Adams State, then they'll play Northern Colorado twice or 3 times. But between some of those Northern Colorado games, they'll play Regis. Then they have MSU Denver and UCCS. So they've definitely got their hands full. Adams State's a team they can definitely beat up on. Regis will be a tough game. MSU Denver, you got to at least take one of those if you can. Northern Colorado, obviously a big game as well.
That's going to be
D1 college.
super awesome.
And then
I'm
you end the
excited for
year
that
on
one.
UCCS, who they aren't the worst team in the RMAC at all, but those are games that you definitely have to win. You're looking to sweep a couple of these series. I mean, you have UCCS at 13 and 17. They're 2 under you. You have Regis at 14 and 16. They're 2 under you. UCCS 3 under you. So the Adams State series, the UCCS series and Regis series, you have to at least win 3 of 4 on all of those, because those teams you have to prove you're better than. Regis is the one team above you in those South Central rankings that you got to knock out of there. So this next one against Adams State is kind of the preview into a tough end of the season where they're going to have some pretty even matchups, and even got one of the best in the country at MSU.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I do want to mention real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Head to the next subject. But Colorado Mesa, just last season they were so good. I believe they were in the RMAC championship and they lost to Metro. And
How many years?
it was
in a
20
row-
years.
How many years in a row
Oh.
has that been the championship, do you think, if we could look back at it?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I know that it was 20 years that Metro had not won it for.
Oh, okay.
So they ended a 20-year drought. But last year Mesa was so good, and their best hitter, Hayden McGeary, who batted 481. Yes.
Wow.
481
Wow. On the season?
on the season.
Wow.
Last season. He
Wow.
he ended up getting drafted 15th round
I'm not surprised.
to the Chicago Cubs. Played last season. Where did he play at? I believe he was
Another
just
one of those guys that got
Myrtle
drafted
Beach.
from Mesa.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach Pelicans, single A affiliate, and he's playing there this year as well.
Oh, interesting. I guess the RMAC tournament hasn't gone through Mesa, and actually 2 years ago,
Hmm.
it was UCCS
Oh wow.
against Mesa. I mean, Mesa, actually Mesa lost it against UCCS 2 years ago. So
Okay.
interesting to look at.
Last year was it Metro versus Mesa?
Yes,
Okay.
last year it
Yep.
was. The year before that, it was um, UCCS versus
Okay.
Mesa, and UCCS took it all. And then the year before that was COVID. So I mean, I'll be interested to maybe look into this a little bit and see, because I bet you Mesa's been in the championship the past couple seasons.
Oh yeah. I mean, the past you could probably look at the past 20 some years.
The year before
Um,
that, they beat Mines. Mines was a number 29 team in the country. So Mesa's probably been in that championship every year for the past 10 years.
oh yeah. Well, real quick, we're gonna go fun, nice little segment. We'll try to keep it quick. We're gonna go through about every other sport that's going on now, and their national rankings. Who's nationally ranked in the RMAC right now?
Mhm.
But before we do that, I forgot to do this. Predictions for baseball, the rest of the baseball season. Who's gonna win it?
So I think that Metro's going to win it this year
Really?
because I do. I think that Metro, you know, they got a bad taste in their mouth from that last series just playing Mesa, and they are definitely a good enough team to beat Mesa, and I think they're sick and tired of losing to Mesa all the time. I think it's their time to win the RMAC championship this year.
I like it. But I'm going to disagree with you. I'm
Yeah,
going to
I
go Mesa
understand.
all the way. They're just,
I understand.
they're honestly too good, in my opinion. I think they're going to go all the way, but I think we're going to get a surprise. I think Colorado School of Mines is going to come out and just
You
rock
think
the
they're going to
lights.
make it
I think,
farther than they're expected to?
yes, I think they'll make it if the bracket lines up right. I
Here's
think that they'll make it to play against Mesa in the championship.
Here's what I think it would kind of be like. I think that Metro would win the RMAC, but Mesa would beat them in the tournament, or Mesa will go farther in the actual
Okay.
tournament. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a fun rest of the
yeah.
baseball season. Anyways, let's do this national rankings. Let's start out with women's lacrosse. There's some fun teams in women's lacrosse right now.
Definitely.
Colorado Mesa and Regis. Those are the teams to look out for. And the nationally ranked right now is only Regis. Colorado Mesa is receiving votes, but Regis is number 3 in the country. They had an awesome season last year, and they're 9-0 right now.
Well, in last season, they ended number one in the country. They came in the preseason polls at number one in the country. They're a very impressive team. The past couple years, Regis has really turned into this high-end women's lacrosse college, which is, you know, you wouldn't expect that out of Regis University, out of an RMAC team, but yeah, they are just a hub for girls lacrosse. And if you're a girl that plays lacrosse in Colorado and you don't have a bunch of offers, look into going to somewhere like Regis because they have an amazing program and will probably be one of these top dogs for years to come. I don't see anything slowing them down. Obviously, they have great coaching, and that's where it all starts.
Yeah, they have such an awesome staff over there at Regis. And there's only 6 teams in the RMAC for women's lacrosse. But moving on to men's lacrosse, there's only 4 teams in the RMAC
Yeah.
for men's lacrosse. And only one of them has a winning percentage above 500 right now. And they're sitting at 818 with a 9-2 overall record. Colorado Mesa, everybody else has really not performed all that well. And Colorado Mesa, according to the USA Lacrosse magazine rankings, they are number 12 in the nation.
Okay.
So I think they have a
Not too
fun
bad.
fun season ahead of them as well.
And you know, some of these RMAC sports are a little behind, and some of them are just getting a little more popular now, like softball. We've seen in the past couple years, more of the RMAC teams are joining with a softball team, such as Black Hills State. I know they're really bad this year, but they're a newer team to being in this RMAC softball. You know, they don't even have a football team yet. You never know; that could be to come, but they don't have a football team. And some of these teams are just joining. Men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse are both one of those that they're trying to build up more teams. You know, they have 6 now in women's, as you know, some of those teams have had success, but the men's haven't really had too much success over the past couple years. So the teams don't want to join an RMAC squad where they're going to be playing really good teams in the country because they don't want to get embarrassed. But it's all got to start somewhere. I could see in the next 5 to 10 years, both of those adding 4 to 5 teams and actually being a full conference.
Yeah, I would love to see Regis get a men's lacrosse team with how good
I
they
would
are at
too.
women's lacrosse. I would love to see how they do in men's lacrosse.
Hmm.
Moving on to golf, men's golf has been really dominated this year by CSU Pueblo and Colorado Christian. All the players of the week have been from those two teams. Matt Miller getting 3 players of the week for CSU Pueblo, and for Colorado Christian, Adam Duncan and Xavier Big House. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but Adam Duncan's got 3 player of the weeks as well, and Xavier has 2. So those 3 guys are just playing out of their minds and going to the national rankings. We see CSU Pueblo 11th and Colorado Christian 19th. They've been playing some really fun golf.
Well, and CSU Pueblo is a bit more of a surprise this year, but Colorado Christian, they're one of those schools that's known for men's golf. They've been good at men's golf through eternity. Sometimes Colorado Christian gets swept under the rug because they aren't the best sports school in certain type of sports, and they haven't been in their history. But golf, you look back in their history, and they have been good at golf forever. But another surprising part about CCU is their women's golf team was supposed to be really good this year, and the men's golf team has been hand and foot outperforming them by a mile, and the women's have kind of, taken a toll this year. And yeah, I just find it very interesting because the CCU women's team is also supposed to be incredibly good.
Yeah, and I mean they I forgot her name, but last year they had a really really awesome player. She ended up going to the University of Texas, so she's
Mhm.
playing over there now. But yeah, it was a bit of a shocker. We thought that Colorado Christian women's, they're not doing terrible, but we thought they were going to be doing real well, and we didn't really expect that from the men's team. So definitely
Yeah.
cool to see that. So there's no speaking of women's golf, there's no golfers or no teams in the national rankings for women's golf. Last week it was Kylie Severin of CSU Pueblo to win the RMAC women's golfer of the week. And moving on, let's go to men's and women's outdoor track and field. Let's start out with men's outdoor track and field. We have the week 2 rankings. Let's see, where's this? Oh my gosh, what a name. USTFCCCA National TFRI Track and Field Rating Index.
Oh my God. It's a
Very,
mouthful.
such a mouthful, but the RMAC men have so many teams in the top 25. CSU Pueblo's at the top at number 12. Number 13 is UCCS. Number 17, Colorado School of Mines. Number 18, Colorado Christian. Number 20, Western Colorado. And number 22, Adams State. So many RMAC teams
Yeah.
in the outdoor track and field.
And they also, the men's teams and the women's teams are usually good at the indoor track and field as well. We saw a couple people up for some national titles, but going over to the women's, it's not around the same, but we got to give a shout out to Colorado School of Mines. Their women's outdoor track and field team is ranked number 10 in the country, and that is the highest school ranking for the women's in history of outdoor track and field. Their men's are 17, so Mines has got on both sides of it. If you're interested in outdoor track and field and keeping up to date with it, check out Colorado School of Mines, or if you're a runner, check out Colorado School of Mines because they have got some nationally ranked outdoor track and field teams. But shout out to those ladies. Keep running hard.
Yeah, and they're. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of their cross country runners came over to outdoor track and field because they were. I believe the men won the national championship, and then the women's came in third, I believe. So they're a great and fast team. So like you said, Colorado School of Mines at 10, and just pretty close behind them, number 12, Colorado State University Pueblo, number 16, Adams State, and that'll do it for the RMAC national ranks, all the sports.
And RMAC is they're a little bit of a sneaky track and field, indoor and outdoor conference because lots of the more athletic runners and people do end up being from Colorado because of the altitude. So the bunch of schools in the RMAC are from Colorado, and you end up getting all these very athletic runners that went to colleges in Colorado, didn't get a D1 offer. They get the D2 offer for a Mesa, Metro, Mines, Regis, CCU, whoever it is, and these teams will be top in the nation every single year. So again, if you're a runner, look into the RMAC. They're a very impressive conference.
Yeah, I'm excited about this outdoor track and field season. So many fast runners. But we got to move on, and this is probably the biggest news
Ah,
of the RMAC season, week, year. This is huge news. And I came into this. We were talking. Jack and I were talking before we did this show. Before we hit that record button. I said there's big news, and I'm really excited about it. But I'm not telling you because I want your
no.
natural reaction.
And I didn't look anything up or that I want to know, but I know the topic it's gonna be about because I just know you'd be excited for it, but I don't know who and if it's men's or women's and what schools. So
Yeah. So that topic is transferring. Is someone transferring in? Is somebody transferring out? Well, I'll make your mind up there. There are two players from the RMAC transferring out of men's basketball,
okay, out of men's basketball.
or out of the RMAC.
Out of the oh,
Yeah. So
okay.
two players who had phenomenal seasons. And I'm
Oh, I think I
personally,
know who they are.
I'm sure you could guess, but
Uh-huh.
I'll start off with Black Hills State PJ Hayes.
Okay.
I believe he was a junior or a sophomore, and I mean, he had a good season for sure.
Yeah,
Let's
the
pull up
Black
his
Hills State
stats
team
real
was
quick. Yeah,
crazy.
I mean,
I was
went to
expecting
the
it.
Final Four.
I was expecting a different Black Hills State player. PJ Hayes is cool too, though.
PJ Hayes, 10 points per game, 4.8 rebounds a game, and 26 minutes. He was definitely a big piece. Shot 50% from the field.
Yeah,
A great player.
they
Super
shot
exciting.
50% as a team.
Yeah,
So
that whole team was insane. Finished Final Four, and he tweeted out, "First off, I would like to thank Black Hills State and the community of Spearfish for everything these past 3 years. I am grateful to have be." I think
a little bit of a
a little bit of a
typing.
typo, but I am
Yeah.
grateful to have the ability to attend Black Hills and blessed to have been a part of this program. Words can't describe what it's meant to have
Well,
have been a Yellow Jacket, and I'll never forget great people I've met and the memories I've created here. With that being said, I've decided to enter the transfer portal with 2 years of eligibility remaining.
and people don't understand a little bit about Black Hills State. They are a more recent RMAC team. I mean, they've been in it for since 2016, I think, right? Or 2015, somewhere around then. So
Yeah,
about a little over 5 years ago, maybe closer to 10 now. But they're not the best at all of the sports that they put teams out for, but basketball, they have always been up there. And have you ever been to Spearfish, South Dakota? I haven't, but
I have never
I,
been.
I, there's nothing there, man. There is nothing, and their sports team is Black Hills State. So the basketball games are on the radio. They have thousands of fans there every
They
single night. It is a big deal up there. Going to Black Hills State is almost like going to a small D1 college for
right, and
basketball.
it might even be a little better because of
Yeah.
how much passion there is. A lot of these small D1
Mhm.
basketball teams, if they're not having a good year, there's not a lot of passion. Same thing
Not
goes
at
for
all.
Black Hills State, but they're all like almost always having a good year.
Yeah, they
Um,
got a great coach, so they'll be good for years to
oh
come.
yeah, Coach Ryan Thompson, a
Yes.
phenomenal coach.
And he's a young guy too.
He has, I mean, bringing in Matthew Ragsdale from Western Colorado was one of the
The
best
best
decisions I've seen.
moves.
He was
Hmm.
probably the second best player on the team behind Joel Scott. So
Hmm.
yeah, with that being said, PJ Hayes, where does
Congratulations
he
to him.
go?
I'll be interested to see because I don't think that Hayes was good enough to go to like a Duke, Kansas, Texas. I
Oh
don't think
yeah,
he was to that point. If he was a guy that transferred to like Colorado State University. I could see that for
Yeah,
sure.
and
Now, I wouldn't say like.
you never really
Go
know
ahead.
because you are behind a guy like Joel Scotton and Matthew Ragsdale and a few other guys, Adam Musa, where you don't even know. Like, he's probably not even playing offensively to his best capabilities because he's
Probably
giving
not.
open
No,
shots to the other guys. So we don't
definitely
really know
not.
how truly good this guy is. But
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I like the move for him. I think, going to the RMAC, if you're looking to do bigger things, start there and transfer up. They get looked at from D1 teams every year. You'll see a couple guys from the RMAC every single year transfer up to a D1, or you'll see D1 players transfer down to an RMAC team so they can elevate themselves back up to that D1 level because it's probably the step right under D1 level play. They are just there. And a couple of these teams, this Black Hill State team would have beat a couple D1 teams this year.
oh
Would have
yeah,
been that 64 tournament. I say they win a game. They win a game.
I could get behind that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I think PJ Hayes goes to a small D1 school,
I do
maybe a
too.
mid major like Colorado State.
Yeah.
Colorado State has been losing a lot of players recently to the transfer portal. So I could see PJ Hayes
Uh,
going to Colorado
a
State.
Mountain West type of
Yeah,
team,
Mountain West or Big
American
Sky.
Conference, Big Sky. Maybe not
Yeah.
American. Some of those teams are too good, but a lower American
Right.
conference.
Like I could see him go to a Northern Colorado or a CSU.
Yep.
If we're talking about
Yep.
Colorado teams, maybe he sticks to South Dakota and he goes to
Yeah.
something like the University of South Dakota.
Or maybe he goes to Boise State because it's just right above him
Right.
up there. Yeah.
Shout out to South Dakota University point guard, freshman point guard, Jeremiah Coleman, Chaparral student. Well, he was for a little bit, and then he transferred. I believe it was Colorado Prep. So they got players over there. I would love to see him at a team like that. They play DU, I believe. So
Yeah.
another school.
We'll have
I'll
to
keep
stay
an eye out. Yeah,
updated.
we'll update it.
We'll,
And
we'll have
now,
his announcement day.
yeah, and
Put the hats on.
the huge news:
Okay.
Joel Scott's transferring. We
Okay.
yeah,
That's who I
yeah.
was wondering. I was like, so PJ Hayes is going to transfer, but Joel Scott's not going to. The
Right.
two-time back-to-back RMAC Player of the Year who looks like he could play in the NBA. He's not only like this, just good at playing basketball. He's like 6'7", 220 pounds, can dunk on you. He scored all of their points, got all these rebounds. Like, he is a D1 player stuck in D2, and he needed to move on. If he wasn't going to move on, I was going to make him because he was dominating the RMAC too hard.
Yeah, almost averaging a double-double, 23 points a game, almost 10 rebounds a game, 9.6. We can count it. And he was
He had
shooting
what?
what,
He had like a block, 1.3 blocks a game.
1.1 blocks a game and
Yep.
0.9 steals a game with 1.5 assists. He's getting it done everywhere, and he shot 60% from the field.
Yeah.
60.
No, ridiculous. You see NBA guys do that. You don't see D2 basketball players shoot 60% from
Yeah.
the field.
And he was named the D2 CCA Ron Lenz National Player of the Year.
Yep.
Such an awesome player. Being able to cover him this season and call his games this season was phenomenal. I
Yeah.
even got the chance to talk to him for real quick after a game, and he's just a nice guy. Simply nice guy.
That is a guy I could see. I don't see him being a superstar in the NBA, but playing some NBA minutes. You might see Joel Scott there on the TV because this kid is super talented. Of course, back-to-back RMAC Player of the Year, wins D2 National Player. He was the best player in America that played D2 basketball last year. And man, I think I called 2 of his games, and it was fun to watch. When I was calling the Regis Black Hill State game, he almost ended somebody's life. Luckily, the dunk didn't go through, but man, he's fast. He can jump high. He can grab those rebounds, finish through contact. He's got lots of blocks. He's a very physical player. He'd be a power forward type of player, and he would fit somewhere perfectly on a D1 roster.
Yeah, and I it'll be exciting to see where he goes. Definitely a guy to look out for. I believe he's got 1 year left, his senior year, and he's
extra year. So
he's got so much potential. I mean, I'm looking at a picture of him from high school right now, and he was small.
He's huge now.
And now he's real big, and I'm excited. He's got a lot of potential, but What's your prediction? Where's he going?
See, I could see him going to a bigger D1 college somewhere that I don't know if I'd say like a Kansas. I think still a huge top 5 team in the country. I don't know if they'd take a chance on that, but I would say somebody that could enter in the end at the back of the top 25, or somebody that's going to be in the tournament every year. Oh man, I'm having trouble. Do you have a place in mind already?
It's tough, but I think any team would be lucky to have this guy, and I
I
think
do
every
too.
team
I do too.
should be looking at this guy.
Oh, definitely.
I hate to say it, but I can't imagine we see him at a Kansas or a Duke
I
or
don't
one of those
think
big
we
schools,
would,
just
but
simply
even
because they
like,
don't look for transfers from
you
D2
know, like
schools.
Florida State
Yeah,
would be a school, Ohio State,
yeah,
somewhere that they can be a top 25 team in the country, but they're not a top 25 team in the country every year.
yeah.
Somewhere that a D1 college that looks for these T2 guys in basketball. Sure, Ohio State, they wouldn't do that in football, but in basketball, 100% they would. Same with Florida State. They're not going to do that in football, but they will in basketball. Even like Florida, a place like Florida, either of those two schools I could see. I mean, even like a San Diego State. I know that
Yeah.
they're one of the better Mountain
Oh,
West teams.
what a
If you
run.
went to San Diego State, I mean, that would be insane
Yeah,
too.
I could see
So
him at a
it's just
high.
somewhere
Yeah,
where he needs to get playing time, because this is his last year. This is his year to get drafted or show that he can play NBA basketball. So he's gonna want to get those
yeah.
minutes.
I don't think he's going to go to a mid major though. I think
Mm-mm.
he will get playing time at a high level Division 1
I
school,
do too.
and I have a prediction, and I would absolutely love to see this happen. University of Colorado. I see him going to be a Buffalo
Oh,
and being one of the
that would
older
be
players. Yeah,
insane.
because I mean, they have
They have
the
Simpson now.
yeah. The only thing is
Um,
with CU is that they have a lot of recruits right now. I believe they have 8 3 stars and like three or two or
yeah,
three
but
five
I would
stars.
say he would be even with those 3 stars for sure.
I think he'd be
Like he
better.
would.
He's got more
I honestly
experience,
think
and
he
he's
could.
he's older.
Well, and he's been to those Final Four games. They went back to back Final Four, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So
I think.
he's played against some of the top D2 teams in the country, who those guys are going to D1 schools. I would see him getting playing time. Shout out to my boy Julian Hammond. He's on that CU team. He's gonna get his playing time next year too. So hopefully he can have Joel Scott by his side.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where these two guys go. This is
Oh, you know what else? I figured out my prediction. I'm staying Pac-12. Oregon. He's gonna go to
oh,
Oregon.
would love to see that. Would
Hmm.
love to see that.
Hmm.
I think I'm a little biased. I want him to come to Colorado just so I
That
can
would be
go visit
awesome.
him and watch his
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
hoping for. But I don't really care where he goes. He's gonna go wherever he sees fit for
Definitely.
him. And I think that that's super awesome. I think
Yeah.
whatever he needs to do for himself is gonna be awesome. And I
Well,
think honestly, we could see him at this is a little crazy, but he could have a big year next year and go to the NBA. I mean, we've seen it
yeah,
before from an
I don't.
RMAC player.
Oh
Derek White went
yeah,
from
Derek
Legend High
White,
School, UCCS, CU,
and
then the Spurs. I mean, he made it to the
he
NBA.
was what was he on that championship team last year too that lost to the
Yeah.
Warriors, the Celtics?
Yep.
Yeah.
He was
So
with the
he's on a
Celtics.
very good NBA team now and is an
Great
important
player.
piece on that team. Like he's not just nobody that comes off the bench. Like they need
Yeah.
him.
And it's
So
been done before. So
yes,
I think
I
that's a
think.
great thing to see from Joel
Well,
Scott.
and the thing about Joel Scott is when you're watching him, if you didn't have the chance to watch him or aren't going to watch him in D2, he was men amongst boys. Not that these guys are boys, but the size differential, the awareness of the game, he knew when he needed to score. He knew when his defense was more important. He knew when he needed to go get the rebound, the angle to go get the rebound, who to pass it to even. I know he wasn't a huge passer, but he made good passes.
Yeah.
And it always ended up coming back to him. But when he needed to turn it on, it's time for my team to win. He did just that. So, he definitely knows all sides of it. He's won RMAC championships. He's been RMAC Player of the Year, National Player of the Year. He played in that big tournament. They went to the Final Four back to back. So he has this huge resume of experience that could be used on any D1 team. Like any. I think anybody could have him and they'd be happy with what he is.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to see where he ends up. He had 805 points scored this season, which is just absolutely insane. So it'll be,
Almost almost 1,000 in
yeah.
1 year. One
Hey,
year. It took
right behind him is Aquel Cott of Fort Lewis,
yeah.
801, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. No, he was very good this season too at a very good Fort Lewis team. Similar to Black Hill State, small city, Colorado. Only thing there, lots of people watch. So
Yeah, well, we're gonna try to make this a weekly thing, talking about RMAC. But what a fun first episode! We talked about a lot
Mhm.
of stuff. Leave a comment if you would like to see anything else from us. Leave any kind of suggestions.
Hey, and share it with your friends if you liked it.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll share, put it on your Twitter, whatever, or
yeah.
don't. That's okay too.
Well, I'm Spencer Patterson, Jack Jones with me. What a fun show! This was talking about RMAC on the SJA Network.